The fact that you're watching this video tells me that you're interested in health. And if you're interested in health, I'm sure you've heard plenty about high protein diets because they're all the rage right now. But here's the thing with that. Diets that are all the rage. Diets don't work. Things that are all the rage, we find out years later that they're just not as healthy as we thought that they were. Usually what we see with things that are all the rage at one point is that we find that there are negative consequences to them that aren't as apparent early on. We find that they don't deliver on their promises in the way that they seem to early on, and we find that the practices are not healthy for long-term use. We don't know all this with high protein diets yet, but all the warning signs are there. So let's start with a bit of science. What is protein? Protein is a series of 20 amino acids in a specific ratio to each other. It's very important that you meet your body's protein needs, and if you don't meet your body's protein needs, there are dire consequences. However, when you eat protein, your body dissolves the protein into those 20 amino acids, and then it builds its own proteins to suit. There's no such thing as one protein. There are thousands of different kinds of proteins, and your body builds its own proteins based on what it needs out of those 20 amino acids. And this is essential to keep in mind with protein because 11 of those amino acids are something that the body will build itself. So to meet your protein needs, what you actually need are 9 essential amino acids. And these essential amino acids can come from sources that are protein, and they can just as easily come from sources that aren't protein. Vegetables are rich in amino acids. They tend not to have all 20, and they tend not to have them in the same ratio that meat or a high protein item would, but they tend to have plenty of amino acids. In a diet that is widely varied, where you're getting a good variety of vegetables, it's very difficult not to meet your protein needs. And the nice thing about getting a lot of your protein from vegetables and from legumes is that they're much easier to digest than meat is, and they have a lot of other trace minerals. Now, this video is not going to be a strike against meat, because meat used appropriately can also be healthy. But vegetables in general are going to be better for you than meat is, and what you see with a lot of people in the high protein diets is that they lean very heavily on meat at the expense of fruit in particular, and often vegetables too. When you do this, it becomes much more difficult to meet your micronutrient needs. When you amp up the protein so much, you also get less carbohydrates, and the process of converting protein to carbohydrates is called ketosis, and it's great for short-term weight loss, which is one of the reasons high protein diets are all the rage right now. However, it is not sustainable in the long term without some carbs being in there, and that's why most of these diets have a cheat day built in so that you get the carbs, enough carbs to allow the ketosis to happen. Well, you may be asking, if it helps me lose weight and keep weight off, what's the problem with that? There's a few problems with that. Long term, again, the micronutrients are more difficult to meet that way. But also, when you have your cheat day, it continues psychologically to put food into two camps: food I have to eat and food I want to eat. And as much as possible to make this sustainable for you long term is you want to enjoy what you eat and you want to like eating the way that you eat. And I find having those two camps of food makes that process very difficult. Another issue is that protein-rich foods, especially meat and dairy, tend to be acidifying to the body. And that has an effect long-term on the kidneys. And we haven't really seen much data other than immediate weight loss to support high-protein diets, even in athletic performance, where it's just kind of an assumed given that high-protein diets are good. We haven't seen any data to support that in scientific studies. However, what we have seen consistently in scientific studies is that high-protein diets are linked to kidney problems. Diets that are high in meat are linked to colon problems. And these kind of diets that help you lose weight in the short term, that's great in of itself, but if it's something that you can't sustain into the future, what has it really gotten you? You've lost some weight, but the method to keep it off is one that you can't do into the future without suffering harm from it. So I would recommend finding other ways to lose weight that are just as effective, that turn into lifestyle switches, that are things that you enjoy, and that are healthy for you long term. Protein is most certainly an important part of your diet, but a high protein diet is not something that I recommend. So please try to set aside the high protein diet myth, and instead of focusing on getting as much protein as is possible, focus on getting high quality protein in legumes, pasture-raised beef, fish, pasture-raised eggs, things that are high quality protein sources. You don't have to have a lot of it. Focus on quality instead of quantity. If you like this video, click the like button. If you'd like to hear more of what I have to say, subscribe to my channel. Thanks. Enjoy.